Apologies for being a little late on this review. I had to go to the doctor because I had a bunch of wooden splinters on my mouth. It has nothing to do with this Annabelle popcorn bucket and the fact you eat the popcorn out of her butt. Okay. I think I was just possessed by a demon. What the heck? Let's talk about Conjuring Last Rites. The Conjuring The Last Rites is the fourth installment in the main Conjuring franchise, once again following Ed and Lorraine Warren on their final case, coming to the aid of the Smurl family that's found themselves being haunted by a very evil entity, only to realize this is one of their most personal cases coming back to get them. And that's all. Pretty much any spoilers, you guys. This will be a spoiler-free review. Green screen for now, because the spooky set is 99% ready, but not 100%, so you're gonna have to wait one more day. Beginning on to this fourth Conjuring movie, it's crazy that now we have come to what is essentially the last Conjuring film. I say it with quotation marks because you know they're still gonna do their spin-offs, their Annabelles, their Nun, or whoever else they end up creating. But the way they're selling this movie is it looks like it'll be the last time it's Ed and Lorraine Warren, played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. And I've grown very fond of this couple and them solving cases, particularly because of the work James Wan put into those first two films. From then on, the keys have basically been handed over to Michael Chavez, who has been directing so many of these. From La Llorona, I don't care if they say it's not canon, it is canon in the universe. The Nun 2, Conjuring 3, and now Conjuring 4. The only thing I was really hoping for going into this fourth movie is at least let it be memorable, because I think that was the biggest detriment to the Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. It's not so much that I think that was a bad movie, but it just felt like a nothing burger. Like, I couldn't even tell you anything interesting that happened in that movie. It feels like it almost just came and went, and this fourth film is just kind of to be able to end things on a proper note. And you know what? Going in to finally see the movie, check it out for myself, I am willing to say this is probably Michael Chavez's best Conjuring film, while also being pretty satisfied that this is now the last movie with Ed and Lorraine Warren. I got my gripes and butts, and we're going to talk about those, but let me get on to the things that I think really made this movie stand out as opposed to previous Michael Chavez movies and Conjuring 3. For one, it's the bigger focus on Ed and Lorraine Warren this time around. They make it a big deal from the opening of this movie that I found pretty emotional, that this demonic presence, this evil threat, has a personal vendetta against the Warrens, and now it's finally come back all these years. And with that, the movie gives you a lot of time just hanging out with Ed and Lorraine Warren, treating them like characters and seeing them at the end of the road. It's now 1986. They've done over 1,000 cases, and the movie really plays up on one, Ed's health. I know that was kind of a factor in the third movie, but even more so in this one. But it's more than that. He's also dealing with the fact that people are starting to look at him like he's an old man, having a bit of a midlife crisis and feeling like, oh, this is just a temporary setback. We're not stopping. I'm just waiting till I'm healthy again to start chasing some ghosts. And even on that note, they're not as popular as they used to be. Not many people show up to their sermons. The film Ghostbusters has come out now and people make fun of them. It's honestly a very sad part at the end of their career where they're just like, what do we do now? In comes in Judy Warren, the daughter of Ed and Lorraine Warren, played by Mia Tolmanson, and this was another factor into this fourth entry that actually made it more appealing to me, because Ed and Lorraine's daughter has always been kind of like a background character. She's shown up here and there, whether it's in The Conjuring 2, had a larger presence in Annabelle 3, where, funny enough, the beef Judy Warren has with Annabelle carries over into this movie, and I found that to be kind of funny, that Ed and Lorraine's daughter just like, I don't like dolls, but I especially don't like that doll. But with the daughter, there's this subplot involving her and her boyfriend Tony, and there's this great relationship and dynamic that happens between Ed Warren and Tony, played by Ben Hardy, where Ed is like, this is my baby girl, I'm not just passing her up to anybody, you gotta earn my respect. And through the course of the movie, you see that happen. I found Tony to be a pretty likable character with an interesting backstory, and the awkward moments these two would share together, it was really working for me. And again, that's the strength of this movie. If you're someone who's grown to like these characters and you're invested into the Conjuring universe, not just for the spooky stuff, but for the actual characters themselves, a lot of heart is poured in to make sure this is a proper ending for them. Because, you know, getting back to the daughter Judy, I was always fascinated resonated with her. I was like, dude, your parents hunt down these demons, these ghosts, do all this crazy stuff. Having her help this time around really filled in a void I thought was lingering on the franchise. When it comes though to the spooky, the scary, and the thrills of this film, okay, I know Michael Chavez gets a lot of flack, but ever since La Llorona, which I will admit, not a great movie, but I still stand by totally understanding why he was somebody who was basically handed the keys of the Conjuring universe and was doing all these films in the world, is because I think aside from James Wan, he has come the closest to being able to replicate some of those spooky thrill sequences. And it's a very hard thing to do, because if you do it wrong, man, does it become just one boring, generic experience. And here, Michael Chavez does have several standout spooky moments that got under my skin, particularly when it came to this family being haunted by this demonic presence. You know, when this movie got announced, I looked into the real life case and the things they claimed happened to them, and the movie does their best to make sure that stuff is shown, but also in a tasteful way. What I'm particularly talking about is this is one of those rare cases where they allege the ghost touched them inappropriately, and the movie goes there. But it goes there in a way where I honestly don't think you realize what's happening unless you know that detail behind the case. And well, I just told it to you, so now you'll notice it. But that was pretty eerie, along with a serial scene, I'll just say that. I'll even give them props enough for the big ending climactic battle with this demon. I thought had a lot of interesting stuff going on. And those are the main highlights that I think put it to the above average Conjuring movie, and actually way better movie than the third film, along with it actually coming to a satisfying conclusion because of how much they pay respect and love to the characters themselves. That and a handful of super creepy moments that are played out nicely. With that said, I still think we are not reaching the James Wan level of where this franchise was for a few reasons. Okay, one, I think if you're someone just wanting to go into this movie to just be scared, get super creeped out, all right, it's a little demonic movie, spooky season's right around the corner, what you got for me? While there will be a sprinkle of those scenes to get you feeling eerie, I do think there is a bit of a pacing issue in this movie where, man, they are really holding out for the Warrens to get involved with this case. I was kind of surprised how long in the movie it took for Ed and Lorraine Warren to actually get involved with the case, start working on it, and help this family out. Especially because the beginning of the movie gives you that text where it's like, in 1986, the Sherrill family found themselves here, blah, 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 and this was the case. Ed and Lorraine Warren had to quit. What? Okay, well then, dang, this must have been a long, hard-working... We're 60%, 70% in the movie, and they're still not on the case? What the heck? And again, some people aren't going to be as bothered with that. I was willing to let it go because how much of the movie was focusing on Ed and Lorraine Warren, their family dynamic, their chapters basically coming to a close in this universe. But as great of a thread as they were setting up with this, I was just like eager for them to go and help this poor family. As I was mentioning, while there's a handful of several really awesome creep out moments that I thought were effective jump scares and genuinely creep me out, there is also about just as many boring, generic, slow, exhausting scare setups. I don't know how many of you noticed this, but it's one of the reasons just demonic possession or haunted house movies are my least favorite in the horror genre, because there is a formula to them, and this formula requires you to invest every 2-3 minutes. What I mean by that is, throughout the course of these haunted entity or paranormal movies, you are then put into a scene where you know, okay, this is a setup scene. Characters walking in to a room, something's obviously going to creep them out and scare them, whether it's a doll coming out and walking, a mirror turning sideways, a figure coming out, but you are investing in that scene 2-3 minutes for that all to go down with the same build-up jump scare sound. That's like a roller coaster. It's a constant scene by scene of scary moment by scary moment. And even though a couple of those will actually be pretty well done, when they are so back-to-back, repetitive, next to each other like that, it almost gets a little exhausting to watch, and you really then start to feel the runtime. Because like I said, it's like a roller coaster. You have to start at the bottom, build up, get to that scare, go down for the next scene, build up, get to that scare, go back down to the next scene. And to me, I just find that process sometimes so irritating. It's kind of that stuff that also makes me realize I'm kind of glad we're ending it here with the main Conjuring movies, because even the films themselves were getting repetitive. Ed and Lorraine Warren meet a family. They're obviously in desperate need of help, and then they do several steps to try and stop them. It's like, I think we've played it out to as far as we can go with these characters. So those were honestly my biggest gripes. I think overall, though, I was still happy with this entry. I feel like it's a good conclusion for these two characters. So curious where the rest of this franchise goes off, if it's just random spin-off after random spin-off, since there was a lot of scenes in this movie, and it was even part of the trailers, and they showed you firsthand of a younger Ed and Lorraine Warren. I wonder if that's the route they go with, whether that's in prequel form or a TV show. As long as you do something new and it's not that rinse and repeat formula I was just talking about, I'm willing to see it go down. So when it comes to Conjuring 4 The Last Rites, I'm going to give action 3 stars. Like I said, there is a handful, actually several jump scare sequences, a lot of creepy, eerie moments, a good amount of them well done, but they are so back to back, they start to lose their impact when you realize this formula that they've been doing in the franchise. Comedy in the movie, I'm going to give it 2 stars. A lot of that just comes from Ed Warren and Tony's character, just the dad trying to get along with his daughter's boyfriend, giving him a hard time. I found that stuff pretty funny. Drama in the film, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. Although I think the case could have been better explored and maybe we could have gotten a little bit more detail into the specific demon. Most of it is just done in a throwaway sentence. The real focus and story comes down to Ed and Lorraine Warren and giving them a proper heartfelt goodbye, and I think the movie does accomplish that. Suspense in the movie, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I would have given it more, but the movie feels like it really does linger on, and with this pacing issue it has, the scares in the later half of the movie, before we get to the big battle at the end, really started just feeling kind of irritating and almost like it was stopping the story that I wanted to see progress forward. Horror in the film, I'll give 3 stars too. I really do think this was a good demonic villain. All the more reason I wanted it fleshed out a little bit more. Plus those handful of scenes where there's actually some effective creepy stuff I thought worked in this movie. When it comes to the 3 C's, I think cinephiles will get the biggest enjoyment out of it. Casuals just jumping in won't get to appreciate that love that we've gotten for Ed and Lorraine Warren this far, while critics are going to really lean on that heavily repetitive, irritating side that these Conjuring films have become. Overall though, when it comes to The Conjuring The Last Rites, since this is actually a proper send-off to Ed and Lorraine Warren with getting some effective scares in there, I think this movie is worth watching in theaters. Again, though, that's just my opinion on the movie. I'd really love to hear from you guys. Do you think this was a great way to end the Conjuring franchise? Where would you like them to go now that Ed and Lorraine Warren seem to be done? Anything, everything, be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.